Trump has ultimately imposed 25% tariff on India. India may not be the target, but we are clearly in the blast zone. This is not just about taxes, it is a power play, and India must read the fine print and read it really fast. As the world rewrites its trade rules, Indian businesses must shift from dependence to dominance. Trust travels faster than tariff falls. What got you here will not get you there. Don't be just a vendor, be a brand. Diversify, de-risk, defend your future. Hello India. I'm glad to welcome all the Indian entrepreneurs and business leaders, economists, business analysts, marketing and advertising gurus, and the young business professionals. Welcome to the show, India Grow Global. Well, thanks to Trump's new trade policies, the world is sitting by the edge right now, trying to make backdoor business treaties with America. However, my personal instinct says that more than these US trade tariffs and treaties, soon the world will begin to witness the emergence of new global trade balance, and that will be backed truly by new trade treaties, bilateral FTAs, and multilateral economic forums, and that too sans the USA. Well, welcome to India Grow Global, the podcast where Indian businesses are guided to build global power brands, not just survive, but truly lead like a market leader. I'm your host Amit Chandra, and I have spent over 30 years designing strategic branding and marketing communications for top multinationals across 15 sectors. You may like to read about myself and about India Grow Global in the description below. Today, we are unpacking a truly hot one: how the US's new trade policies, tariffs, and penalties are shaking up India's export game. Let me begin by sharing some instances when foreign trade policies impacted Indian businesses in the past and how those businesses responded to it. It was in early 2018 when Mr. Bhaskar Jain, an industrial valve exporter from Coimbatore, was celebrating a new client deal from US. But by mid-2019, his entire shipment was stuck at a US port, flagging under a sudden new tariff regime. Caught completely off guard, Bhaskar saw the payment delayed by over 6 months, and during that time, his working capital got completely dried up. Whereas, on the other hand, faced with a rather similar situation, Arvind, who runs a mid-sized auto component export company from Pune, responded rather differently. It was in 2020 when Trump's first wave of tariff came down like a hammer, and Arvind lost 2 major clients in US, and that too within a period of just barely few weeks. But instead of panicking, he went back to the marketing strategy drawing board and decided to diversify his business across ASEAN and Eastern European countries. Now let's fast forward to 2025. Trump's increased US trade tariffs and penalties once again are stirring up global trade tensions. As I'm about to record this episode, unless renegotiated otherwise, starting August 7th, the USA has announced to levy a flat 25% tariff on all imports in India. Plus, there's a possibility of penalties coming along with. However, going by the Trump's vacillating behavior, it won't be surprised if these numbers do get renegotiated. But all said and done, it definitely serves as an indication of US's intentions to pursue Indo-US ties going forward. Well, it is a sure sign that future events are likely to shake up India's US export opportunities. This could impact India's trade ties, key exports and could also raise geopolitical economic concerns. Let's talk about the impact, diplomacy, growth, and what it means for you as an entrepreneur. We are breaking down how the US's new trade policy could impact Indian exports, sector-wise disruption, diplomatic strategy, and the road ahead for Make in India. This podcast is part of India Grow Global initiative, a movement to transform Indian B2B and B2C companies into globally admired brands. It's not just about better products, it's about creating better perception, better preparation, and smarter positioning on the global stage. For the manufacturers, exporters, and service providers, we explore how to respond to global economic shifts, build brand trust across borders, focus on branding, strategy, resilience, and reputation, and evolve beyond just being a supplier to being a brand of choice. And that includes navigating international shocks like the one we are discussing right now. Whether you're in pharmaceuticals, textiles, SaaS, or whether you are a contract manufacturer, staying informed on global policy shifts is no longer an optional behavior. It is critical for survival and success. Let's decode the US policy shift. The United States is gearing up to reimpose steep tariffs, stricter trade barriers, and penalty taxes on imports, especially from countries that are seen as allies to China or Russia. India, while not a direct target like China, is still caught in the geopolitical crossfire. India buying cheaper crude oil from Russia has become a point of ego for the US. If India doesn't succumb to America's muscle flexing, we could be witnessing more penalties and sanctions against India. And to camouflage their ego, it is the America First narrative that is being employed. And it definitely doesn't look too friendly for outsourcing for India. With Trump pushing protectionist comebacks, several measures are already being proposed. For instance, blanket tariff on all imports, penalties on countries with trade surpluses, pressure to de-link with Russian oil and defense suppliers, and stricter rules on origin and digital taxes. And as I said, though India is not the primary target, we are clearly in the blast zone. This could affect Indian businesses exporting to the US, especially those in steel, pharma, electronics, and contract manufacturing. This is not just about taxes, it's about power play. And India must read the fine print and read it really fast. Let's take a look at how the US trade policies will impact different sectors in India. The sectors which are at high risk include pharmaceuticals, especially generics and intermediates because due to the regulatory tightening. In textiles and apparels, India has gained post the China Plus One story, but tariffs could reverse these gains. It is already losing the cost competitive advantage it has been enjoying. Engineering goods like valves, compressors, and transformers are likely to feel the heat. Metals and auto components, which are high volume, low margin sectors, are vulnerable to tariff as well. Contract manufacturers across multiple sectors which are dependent on supplying to American OEMs will certainly experience the cost impact. Steel and metal exports, another sector which has already been under scrutiny since 2018, is likely to be faced with further renewed duties. However, though this may all look extremely gloomy, but all is not all that bad for Indian exporters. The sectors that are relatively safe include IT services and SaaS. Now, these digital services remain tariff immune. Spices, Ayurveda, wellness are niche sectors which India has a cultural advantage at. Green tech and solar component manufacturing is another safe sector to be in. The US push for renewable tech can favor India. Similarly, renewable energy tech is still in demand under green transition goals. Niche but growing demand for organic and Ayurvedic products could also help agri-tech and food processing sectors to stay immune. The bottom line of this analysis is very simple. Exporters depending heavily on US markets need a contingency plan, and they need it like now. This is a time to review dependencies, diversify regions, and de-risk revenue streams. Now, let's take a look at how these US trade policies could impact India's growth story. India's GDP is forecast to grow at 6.7% in FY26, and exports form a vital cushion to offset our trade deficit and currency exposure. A US clampdown may cause a domino effect. A drop in the US orders could lead to reduced export revenues. Lower exports will impact in the form of contraction in manufacturing and related jobs. It will also mean depletion of foreign reserves. It will weaken the rupee, leading to higher input costs. It could also mean investors pulling out due to geopolitical risks. All this is likely to trigger inflation in imported tech and energy, and it will impact MSME liquidity across export hubs like Tirupur, Surat, Rajkot, Pune, and other sector-specific export manufacturing townships and cities. Already, export growth is projected to moderate from 6.5% to 4.1%. So yes, this trade war certainly has the potential to slow India's growth story. However, sectors focusing on GCC countries, Africa, ASEAN and LATAM countries are expected to weather out the storm much faster and easier. Let's take a look at some real Indian business responses. How about we begin with some Indian success stories? Scanray Technologies, a medical equipment maker, expanded beyond the US and entered Italy, Turkey and Brazil. When US regulations tightened last time, they didn't just survive, they grew by 46% in Europe. Let's take the example of Zetwork, the B2B manufacturing marketplace. They diversified early into Southeast Asia and Middle East, reducing US exposure, and the result? Well, in FY25, they grew 33% year on year despite the global slowdown. Speaking of some not so successful export strategies, a Ludhiana-based bicycle parts exporter had 98% dependency on US demand. No alternative market, no D2C strategy, and simply no brand strategy. They remain a commodity, a generic bicycle parts company. No loyalty, no brand traction. Earlier Trump-era tariff wiped 60% of their business, and they still haven't recovered ever since. Similarly, an Ahmedabad-based textile exporter refused to diversify beyond the US. Once tariffs returned, he lost two-thirds of his contracts and had to shut down operations in Tirupur. Now let me share what I call a smart export strategy. Bira 91, the craft beer brand, entered the US through brand licensing and local bottling, bypassing the high duties. They maintained a born in India, brewed in the US positioning, localization with Indian origin storytelling. The lesson learned is very explicit. Overdependence on any one market is not a strength, it is a high risk. Here's a take on how India could respond to the US trade policies. India has maintained a balancing act between the US and Russia. Buying discounted oil from Russia has been economically smart but geopolitically tense. US pressure will mount, and it already is mounting. Even intercontinental supply chain interferences may increase over time, and Trump policies may employ sanctions against nations that refuse to succumb to US's arm-twisting muscle tactics. And that's where international relations come into play. India can possibly look at building multilateral trade partnerships with ASEAN, Africa, and Latin countries. India is already negotiating bilateral FTAs with the UK, EU, Australia, and GCC nations. India may like to push the paddle on that for going forward. And what's interesting is the fact that it will be met with a reciprocal response, because right now, most nations, including the US allies, are feeling the heat of the US's aggressive trade policies. India has always been diplomatically active and vibrant on the global front. Maybe it is time to review and realign its diplomatic storytelling. And certainly, brand India needs a stronger voice in DC. India must double down on global branding of Indian origin based on trust, traceability, and quality. It must double down on self-reliant branding, make in India for the world. Position Indian products as irreplaceable, sustainable, affordable, and reliable. And India must remain non-aligned but transparent, a principle-based policy, not player-based diplomacy. A policy-neutral business positioning is the best defense against policy-dependent disruptions. If we don't define our narrative, others will. So far, we have only spoken in terms of the Indo US relationship. But make no mistake, if the US moves forward with blanket tariffs, it won't be India that suffers. The impact could be felt across the globe. We can expect a slowdown in global supply chains. More countries will start embracing regionalization over globalization. There will be a surge in tariff neutral partners like Vietnam, Mexico, and Poland. WTO disputes and trade blocs will also start resurfacing. While this may create short term chaos, but in the long term, if we adapt smartly, it could well be an opportunity for India. I personally believe in the India story. Even if India experiences an adverse impact due to US trade policies, it will only be a temporary phase. With our hugely favorable demographics, our domestic consumption, along with geopolitical dynamics, not only will India bounce back, but more and more countries will be interested in striking direct trade treaties with India. As a contract manufacturer in India, you sit at the crossroads. International brands are looking for alternative to China, and you are it. But they want reliability, compliance, ethical standards, and a strong brand promise. Your customer is asking two questions. Will you deliver on time despite global volatility? Is your brand future ready in a protectionist world? The answer lies in smart certifications like US FDA, ISO, CE, and many more. Diversified portfolios, creating brand recall, not just technical compliance. Investing in reputation capital like audits, ESG, and traceability. Well, the question is, will Trump's trade policies slow India's growth story? Maybe. But only if we wait and watch, not if we prepare and pivot. Global trade is no longer just about logistics and tariffs. It is about perception, resilience, and strategic branding. Don't just be a vendor, be a brand. So far, you have viewed your brand as a logo, a name, but branding is much more. It is a relationship of trust with your customer. Let me caution you here as well. What has got you here won't get you there. Become the brand that's chosen because it is trusted and loved, and not just because it is cheaper. India Grow Global is here to help you build that global narrative. Stand out with product excellence, consistent communication, and strong leadership. Build trust, diversify markets, and always stay policy aware because geopolitics will change and keep changing. But trust travels faster than tariff walls. Be a power brand. If today's episode gave you insights, do share it with your network. Subscribe for more deep dives like this. Until next time, stay informed, stay proud. Jai Hind, Jai Brand India.